Aloha mai kako. Hey, we want to welcome you to this session of Joy in Our Town. One of the things that we face in this day and age is as far as the importance of education. And how do we factor in what we believe or faith into our education? Again, aloha. My name is Keola Richards, and we are blessed to have in-house this session Pastor Rojo Herrera.
Well done, well
Our
done.
appreciate with Peace Hawaii and then some, which we'll get to later, but aloha.
Thank you very much for having me here. It's my pleasure to be here. Aloha.
It's great to have you here, Pastor Rojo. Hey, Pastor Rojo, we're going to start with as far as an update, if you will, as far as Peace Hawaii. And for the ohana that are watching right now, could you give us a reminder background of the organization?
Sure, yeah. For some of you who have never really heard of Peace Hawaii, about 3 years ago, maybe right after SB1, okay, we had a guest come from Toronto, Canada, and he came and he shared a message of concern that he had experienced in Toronto after they had their version of SB1.
I remember.
And what came out of that meeting 3 years ago was an advice to us that we be careful and watch what happens in education here in Hawaii after SB1. What he had found in Toronto 20 years ago was that once same-sex marriage was legalized, then they felt liberty to go into the classroom and start instructing in ways that are sensitive to Christian faith.
You know, most parents think that public schools should represent and reflect the values of society and reflect the various cultures and worldviews that exist in the communities that the schools serve. The unfortunate thing is that for the last 3 generations, many of those cultures and traditional faith groups have withdrawn from the public school system. And as a result, there was a void. And the void was filled with people that are of different values or have different values. And for the most part, they subscribe to a humanistic worldview. As a result, policies in schools change, curriculum changes, even the classroom environment and the school environment changes. And in many ways, those changes conflict with the worldviews, the values of those traditional cultural families. So families often say to me, what should we do, Phil? Well, the reason why we're in this situation is because for the last 3 generations, we backed up and disengaged. Families of faith, traditional cultures, we need to learn how to re-engage in society, how to re-engage in our public schools. You know, our public schools, they need help. They need you to communicate what your needs are. There are all kinds of things that we can do to be an asset and a help. There's school committees, there's all kinds of volunteer opportunities. There are many different ways in which we can re-engage. If we choose not to, though, we get what we deserve.
Since then, we have discovered that in fact that's what's going on, and so we created in Hawaii what we call Public Education Advocates for Christian Equity.
Hence Peace
Hence
Hawaii.
Peace, correct. And it sounds like a big mouthful, but if you break it down a second, the words are education and advocacy. Educate and advocate. And that's what we do. What we do is alert parents, we educate parents on what's going on in the classrooms with their children. I mean, I have a large family, and I can tell you there are times you just lose track of what's happening with your children in the classroom. They're not as forthcoming giving you information. They've got their own little ideas of what to share with you, particularly what's going on in school. And so we know what's going on in school, so we educate parents on what we know, and then we also educate parents on what the Department of Education and Board of Education policies are that protect faith families. most parents don't know that there are regulations and policies that provide for families of faith with regard to their children's education.
You had mentioned earlier, as we were talking, as far as just those guidelines and regulations that can support the families, but a lot of people, a lot of families don't take advantage of them, but they're there.
They're there, and it's usually because they don't know about them, or once they find out about them, it turns into a hubbub thing. Oh, I've got to go look up rules, I've got to write a letter, I have to go meet the vice principal, and it just dissuades them. It dissuades them from being active. Hence the next word, which is advocate. So what we do, once we educate a family, then we partner with them and we advocate with them on behalf of their child. And that could be as simple as us sharing with the parent the right course of action to take and provide them the documents and resources they need. But it could mean up to us physically going with them to their school. For example, we've been active with the Micronesian community here in Hawaii because frankly, they're culturally not pleased with sex education as it's being presented in our school.
Their culture as far as being part of the community?
Yes, their cultural history is not very open about those topics.
I understand.
And so what they're finding is that in the classroom, the content is offensive, culturally offensive. However, likewise in their culture, they don't challenge authority. And so they find themselves in this very difficult place. They want to express their concern to the teacher or the administrator, but they're having difficulty crossing over that cultural barrier.
I think one of the amazing things that I heard you say, well, a couple already, is the advocacy as far as being able to have the help or the kokua from Peace Hawaii to come alongside our students, our children. And the other thing I heard you say, I'm getting a derivation from it as far as, you know, a lot of times we are blessed to have an education system, but you have your child away from you from say 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and you're thinking as far as, okay, everything's kosher, and it may not be the case. And now that's not taking any swipes at our administrations or our education system or what have you, but we have a part to play.
We do have a part to play, and you know, like I say, I have a large family, and all of the children are public educated. Okay, and I've testified before the Board of Education, the Department of Education. I've had relationships with teachers and principals. They have, for a longer period of time each day, direct access to the precious gifts that God has given me as a parent. And for me, I want to have a trusting relationship with them. And in fact, in Peace, one of the keys to what we do in Peace Hawaii is we hanai the school, the teacher, administration. We want to be seen as partners with them. We want to be seen as positive. We use what we call the Luke 10 approach. Okay, and if you recall in Luke 10,
expound.
Jesus sent out the 70, and he says, to the house that you're going to stay in, pronounce peace, bless them. So what we tell our families is, don't be adversarial with the teacher or the administration. Go in there. If they let them know that you care. All right. The second thing Jesus told them is to fellowship with them, to eat the food they provide you, drink the drink, provide for them. You know, get to know them more. Again, we tell parents, go meet your teachers, get to know them on a personal level. Then Jesus told them to discover what their needs are and to meet their needs in prayer. Similarly, we tell our parents, when you go in there, if the teacher needs more construction paper, go buy a pack of construction paper. You know, simple little things. And the fourth thing Jesus said in Luke 10 is to proclaim the gospel to that house. So for us in Peace, we've kind of morphed that just a little bit to say, share with them the concerns you have, the truth that you know, about your children and your concerns. with what education may be sensitive or even offensive to our faith as faith families.
Yeah. I think that's so key, and I thank you for expounding and bringing Luke 10 to it as far as just how we can be encouraged and what Peace Hawaii does to encourage our proactivity to Hanai, to be part of the process in our education system.
Yeah, and we have 290 schools here on Oahu, and our goal is to have a small, we'll call them hui groups,
Okay.
a small group of parents within each of those schools who will take on the responsibility for showing the love, the aloha to the teachers of that school. And so our goal is in the next 3 years to have a group in every single school, Peace Hawaii be known to the school as a positive, not as a negative group.
Is it okay, because I'm going to ask the question anyway, is it okay to ask, as far as the 290 public schools that you mentioned, how many schools are we involved with at this time?
At this time, we're limited.
Okay.
I would say we've done presentations, we've done dozens of presentations, but we've not taken it to that next step to have people who would sign up to take on a full responsibility. We have an awesome example out in Makakilo. Bernie Hivding and his group out there have Hanai Makakilo Elementary, and they have such a beautiful relationship. I mean, they do projects for the school, but all of that, as you know, requires volunteers. So at this point, if I could put out a plug,
Absolutely.
if you have a heart for what we're saying for children who are receiving a public education, and you have time available, would you contact us at peacehawaii.org, peacehawaii.org. We'd love to have your prayer covering in addition to your volunteerism if you're available. God bless you for it.
Yeah.
Aloha, thank you for joining us on this website. My name is Pastor Rojo Herrera, and I'm from the Mililani area. I want to thank you, educators, principals, teachers, administrators, staff, all of you. Thank you personally, and for all the other parents in our district. Thank you for taking care of our children day in and day out. We appreciate the partnering that we do together as we raise these children. Peace Hawaii exists to support families of faith as they negotiate through some of the sensitive and sometimes difficult curriculum that we find our children learning in schools. We do it through a positive and winsome way. We are not at all advocating any parent be negative or cause any kind of disruption to the classroom environment. What we encourage you to do is to explore this website. In particular, go to the section called Parent Support Guide. In it, you will find lots of good information and resources that will help you understand families of faith and the concerns that we have as we send our kids to school. If you have any questions or would like to contact us, please go send us an email at info@peacehawaii.org. Again, that's info@peacehawaii.org. Thank you and God bless you.
Why don't we continue to talk story this session of joy with Pastor Rojo Herrera with Peace Hawaii, and just how important is it as far as taking education and our faith and making sure things are pono. Pastor, so as we continue to, and the kokua is needed because the education, our kids, our families, our communities, so on and so forth, the bigger picture, coming down to the small picture of each individual student learning correctly or being guarded to learn in a safe place. Update us as far as what's going on with, as far as like you said with the Makakilo Elementary as an example. You also asked for volunteers.
Yes.
One of the amazing things that we've seen as far as being believers is that prayer covering. is important as well. So can we talk a little bit as far as and ask for that continued prayer?
Sure, absolutely. Let me just share a little bit. We have been, Peace has been in Toronto, Canada for over a decade, here in Hawaii for 3 years. Throughout that decade and in the last 3 years, we know that God's hand has been moving there and here by our petition of prayer. And our top priority as an organization, as a nonprofit, is prayer. We have a prayer team, we have prayer covering, we have people who are always covering all that we do, and you'll find out in a moment just how important that is, because we're finding ourselves in a very spiritual battle, a very real spiritual battle. And our children are the targets. And so for us, we know that we have to stand up for the family, stand up for the children. I mean, education, whether you're Christian or non-Christian, education is one of those very few things that no one can ever take away from you. Yeah. It's an enabler. It's something that projects you into a future. But a bad education, or an education that contains bad curriculum, can turn a child into an adult heading down a very wrong road.
Sure.
So for us, the prayer covering, not just for us to keep up our energy, keep up the momentum of our movement, but also to turn the hearts of the children to understand that what they may be hearing, if it conflicts with what they've heard in church on Sunday or from their parents, that they want to have a relationship enough with the parents that they can reconcile the difference in what they're hearing with what they know and believe.
Welcome to our website. I'm so glad that you've joined us. My name is Jonathan Steeper. I'm one of the senior pastors at Kalihi Union Church, and care deeply about our keiki and our children and our school systems and the changes that we are seeing in our systems that often conflict with our faith values and make it difficult for us to know as Christians and as families how we can engage our system in a positive way. And we are here to help you with that at Peace Hawaii. I pray that you will go to our pastors' webinars. I believe you'll find some very helpful information there. Also, if you want to contact us, if you have any questions, you can go to info@peacehawaii.org. That's info@peacehawaii.org. Peace Hawaii exists to help families with children in the school systems engage the school systems in a blessing way and in a positive manner, even when there's conflict in terms of our faith values. And so we are here to help you very practically in that way, and trust that the Lord Jesus will bless not only your time as you visit our website, but also as you engage practically in blessing your people in Hawaii. Thank you so much. Again, it's Jonathan Steeper. I encourage you to go to the pastors' webinars, and if you'd like to contact us, go to info@peacehawaii.org. God bless you.
And I know from chatting earlier and just visiting the website as well, that there's so much that is happening within your organization. We attribute it to as far as families being there for their children, being there for their community. And one of the main things that we see as far as the evolution of Peace Hawaii is something that's happening as far as Peace Global. And we're going to touch base on that in just a moment. You are watching Joy in Our Town, and we're talking with Pastor Rojo Herrera with Peace Hawaii. We'll be right back.
In my country, Canada, we have a province, Alberta. And in the province of Alberta, the school boards have the authority to create alternative programs. In the province of Alberta, one of those school boards, the Edmonton Public School Board, has been very successful at creating alternatives. And it began in 1970s when the Ukrainian community was going to remove their children from the schools because they were concerned about losing their language. The school board said, hey, don't do that. Why don't we create an alternative program where you could send your children to a classroom where we're not going to teach Ukrainian every class, but we could teach music, art, gym in Ukrainian. Parents thought that was fantastic. And what happened was the students that participated in that program, their marks went up because the parents valued the choice. That value transferred to the students who valued the program, and they did much better in school. Edmonton Public Schools now have 32 alternative programs. One of them is even the Logos Christian Alternative Program. Now you have to keep in mind, it's not a separate school. In a school where we have 3 or 4 classes, one of those classes could be the Logos Alternative Classroom. The parents send their children to the class. They do not teach religion. But what they do is deliver curriculum with understanding of the sensitivity of the families to some curriculum topics. Been very successful. Again, what's happened? Parents value the choice. Students' academic achievement has gone up. In the last 30 years, Edmonton Public Schools now have expanded their alternative programs. They now have 32 alternative programs. And when it comes to academic achievement, the students, the school board's gone from the bottom third in our country, Canada, to the #1 school board in Canada academically. Again, when it comes to choice, 47% of the students in the Edmonton Public School Board do not attend their neighborhood school. They attend a school of choice. So when school boards give parents the opportunity to choose, parents will choose what's best for their kids, and it leads to increased academic achievement.
Hey, welcome back to this session of Joy in Our Town. We're talking story with Pastor Rojo Herrera with Peace Hawaii. But one of the things, if you continue to stay with us, that has evolved by the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and His power and His might, is that God is moving within the organization. And now we're going to talk about the update and Peace Global. Pastor Rojo, again.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. Yeah, Peace Hawaii is currently in a transition to Peace Global. Now, I know that sounds... it sounds what am I doing with a global organization? But you know, it's God. Toronto, Canada brought the message to us. We have captured the message here with Peace Hawaii and shared it with others. And since last time I was on the show last summer, we have then found out there are other organizations across the Caribbean, Micronesia, the Philippines, and Southeast Asia.
Wow.
They want us to come and share this message of peace with them. And so in that, we've developed a process where we now have to not just do our own process, we have to develop almost a franchise model so that we can take it to Micronesian states, which we plan to do in the coming year, the Philippines and beyond. Last fall, we were invited to a conference in Phoenix, and what we discovered was there was 25 states represented at this conference, and they are finding in their states what we learned from Toronto and what we have seen here in Hawaii with regard to specifically sex education in public schools. It turns out that sex education, the foundational curriculum, has been written by Planned Parenthood.
Okay.
And it as you can guess, it has a sense of I'll say just a sense of Planned Parenthood. Mm-hmm. It's not interested in abstinence as much as it's just interested in managing, quote, risk for our children. They don't teach our children to wait till they're married to be in a monogamous, loving relationship. Mm-hmm. They say sex is a right as opposed to something that's ordained by God for a married couple. And so in that, the curriculum that's been developed and has been repeated, for example, here in Hawaii, everyone may recall Pono Choices.
Yeah.
Well, Pono Choices is only one of currently 7 approved sex education curriculums here in Hawaii.
There's 7 different curriculums?
There are 7 different. So if you are a parent and you go to your school and you feel like you're doing your due diligence, you say, "Are you teaching Pono Choices?" And they say, "No, Well, you feel better. Well, that's great. Well, guess what? The other ones are based on the same foundational Planned Parenthood designed curriculum.
Yeah, we're pulling 6 other curriculums here that we're just going to offer your keiki.
That's correct. And we've discovered that again by our strategic alliances from across the mainland and Canada. And so with that, we've now taken on this challenge to become Peace Global. Our intent is to reach out to states across the U.S., provinces across Canada, districts and island nations in Southeast Asia, and as well as the Micronesian states. And we've recently been invited to the Caribbean. They're very traditional in their values, and they're very concerned. The Christian community there is very concerned.
One of the things that we do is we provide parents with a letter that they can use to share their values, ask that it be respected, and that they would be informed when curriculum is sensitive. In Ontario, Canada, a real great success story. We had a parent who went to the principal with this letter. The principal of the school accepted the letter, but then when it came to sex ed, told the parent that they could not opt out. And they said, but we asked to opt out. And so we worked with the principal, and we actually said to the principal, the parents don't really fear the knowledge. They don't fear the knowledge expectations, but they're concerned about the potential value from which that knowledge might be delivered. So with that, the principal said, oh, so you wouldn't mind your child doing these assignments? And he put the assignments up before the parents. And the parents said, no, not at all. So what we did, we created some alternative learning assignments where the parents do the teaching at home with a series that we have, a series of books called God's Design for Sex. We connect the pages in the book with the learning expectations in the curriculum. The parents do the teaching at home, and then when the students go to school during the sex ed class where they're going to have the sensitive topic, the children just go down to the library and they do the assignments in the library. In September, the parents went in and said to the principal, we're so grateful that you allowed us to do that. The principal said, you know what? It worked out very well. The students did extremely well on the assignments. And the parents said, well, this really improved our relationship with our child. And the teacher even commented on how it helped to address a need in the school. So parents, we can use these letters, communicate our faith, and it creates opportunities for us to engage the school, but let's not leave it all in their lap. Let's be willing to work with the school to create the solutions that we can use and that others can use to address our needs.
Please go to peacehawaii.org and contact me. We have plenty of opportunities. If you have a heart to serve, we have a place for you to serve.
Pastor Rojo, again,
Thank you so much.